And Michael Cohen admitted on the stand today he stole money from the Trump organization. Only in a Donald Trump trial would the star witness be the one who ends up going to jail. How lucky is Donald Trump?
A few moments later.
I don't know that they have proved beyond a reasonable doubt that even if you believe the prosecution's theory of the case, that Michael Cohen was doing this and Alan Weisselberg was doing that and McConney was doing this and all these people were doing all this stuff, I don't know that they've proven that Donald Trump knew.
They have not.
Yeah.
They absolutely have not. And I think,
boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It is not looking good for Biden and the Democrats when it comes to trying to throw Trump in prison before the election, okay? Because that is the whole point of these politically motivated persecutions against Trump. It is to throw him in jail before the election so that they can try to affect the outcome of the 2024 election. Everybody knows what this is about. However, again, as the days pass, it looks less and less likely like they're actually going to get that, because regardless of whether or not Trump is found guilty or not guilty when it comes to his hush money trial, that, by the way, nobody knows what the actual crime is, okay? This is why they call it the hush money trial, right? Because nobody knows exactly what crime he committed, okay? They just made up a bunch of stuff and threw it at Trump because Alvin Bragg is desperate. And just like Fannie Pack Willis, he's trying to clout chase and to advance his career going after Trump, okay, on behalf of Democrats. This is what they're doing. But anyways, the closing arguments are happening, okay, and Trump's defense team, by all accounts, even the mainstream media, they're admitting that, hey, they made a very strong argument, an argument that essentially is based off this idea that Michael Cohen, the known fraudster, liar, and thief, right, stealing money from Trump, this guy is not trustworthy, right? If you're on this jury, you cannot believe this guy. And apparently this argument was so compelling that even the judge basically had to try to issue corrective instructions to the jury to not take that into account, that, hey, this guy is a known fraudster and a liar, and that, hey, you shouldn't be trying to throw the former president of the United States in prison based off the testimony of a liar.
Todd Blanche was admonished by the judge for that after the jury left the room, and the judge did say that he would issue a curative instruction to the jury specifically about what Todd Blanche said in that moment. And of course, Donald Trump is not facing a mandatory minimum prison sentence in any of the cases where he has been criminally charged. Not one of them carries a mandatory minimum prison sentence. So it was obviously, as the judge said to Todd Blanche, as an experienced prosecutor, you knew what you were doing. You were trying to get this jury worried about the burden they would have of sending Donald Trump to prison.
Yeah, so there you have it, okay? Now, again, this is important because if the jury does not find Michael Cohen to be a reliable witness, essentially the whole case falls apart, because if Michael Cohen is not reliable, then it's impossible to connect Trump having knowledge of these legal payments that I guess New York is saying, the prosecution is saying, were not actually really legal payments. You can't connect Trump in the sense that he knew what the payments were for, okay, and that he knowingly marked them incorrectly when essentially they were going to pay off Stormy Daniels, right? You can't say that he knew if Michael Cohen is unreliable, right? If you know that he's a liar and he's not somebody you can believe, then you don't have a real connection there, right? In the sense that you can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump actually knew about the payments and that the intentions of the payments were to somehow try to affect the outcome of the 2016 election, right? You can't really make these connections that the prosecution is trying to make, right? That is what the defense drove home in their closing arguments. And apparently, again, this was so effective that even CNN on multiple occasions basically admitted that, hey, there's a decent chance that Trump could get acquitted. Take a look.
Andy, what Michael's getting at is the burden of proof is an important one to remind everyone. It's on the prosecution, right? They need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Donald Trump broke the law. And you think, after listening to all of this, you think they fell short. How?
They fell way short because let's start with reasonable doubt. What is reasonable doubt? And it's not simply a doubt based upon reason. Anytime a human being needs to make an important decision in life, if you have enough information, for example, doctor says you need open heart surgery. Doc, go ahead and schedule. I don't have a reasonable doubt. Conversely, if I say, I appreciate it, but I need a second opinion, I need more information, that is having a reasonable doubt. There is reasonable doubt all over this case. Where is Keith Schiller? Where is Alan Weisselberg? How did Michael Cohen get away with stealing $30,000? Hold a pity party for him. Made $4 million on this. Thought he'd be chief of staff. He's a fixer. If the plumber comes to my house to fix my leak, I could be home. That doesn't mean I know how he's doing it and what it's taking to be fixed. Stormy Daniels, let's hold a pity party for her. It's simply about, did the former president know that books, his records, false entries, for legal fees, Michael Cohen was his lawyer. Did he intend to cover up the election or to protect his family? It's everywhere.
When Randy gets to whisper tones, I start getting concerned.
Yeah. So again, when CNN is admitting that, hey, you have not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump is guilty of a crime that, again, nobody really knows what the crime is. Again, have you guys noticed anytime somebody talks about this case, they can't tell you exactly what crime Trump is guilty of, which tells you just how much this case is full of BS, right? I'm just saying, has anybody noticed that, right? They don't actually say what is the crime, right? Is that convoluted? But anyways, yeah, I mean, I personally feel good, but regardless of what happens, okay, whether or not Trump is found guilty or not guilty, honestly, it's a win-win for Trump. And one of the reasons why could be the desperate move that the Biden campaign pulled at the hush money trial today, and we're going to talk about that. But first, I actually want to play a clip of Trump's defense team or Trump attorney talking about how they dismantled the prosecution's case so that you guys can get a better understanding of the closing arguments that were made by Trump's team.
Also with us, Will Scharf, an attorney for the former president in his immunity case, who was on court today. He's also running for Missouri Attorney General as a Republican. Will, it's great to have you on the show. I want to know, because you were in court today, did you get a chance to look at the jury? What was their reaction? Did they find the defense's closing argument compelling? What was your takeaway?
Well, I think what the jury witnessed this morning was a systematic dismantling of the prosecution's case by Todd Blanche. Todd gave them 10 independent reasons why, after hearing all the evidence after this entire trial, why they couldn't vote to convict. And what I saw from the jury was attentiveness, was a serious attention to detail. I think they seemed interested by Todd's argument. And as a defense lawyer, that's really all you can ask for and hope for. But again, I think this morning went extremely well for President Trump, for our team. And we'll have to see how the afternoon wraps up.
Yeah, and it's interesting when these notes come out of the courtroom, and we're going to talk to Howard Kurtz about this in a minute. But your thoughts on the overflow room being amused, very amused, the media there by some of the prosecution's, comical statements.
Well, I think the media has fundamentally misrepresented and perhaps misunderstood this case from the start. This is not a tabloid case. This is not a Stormy Daniels case. This is ultimately a fairly mundane case about business records. And I think what Todd Blanche did an outstanding job of this morning was showing that, with respect to the records in question, that the prosecution had failed to meet its evidentiary burden on numerous elements of the charged offenses. And I think all the laughter in the media room really doesn't matter, because I think the media doesn't get this case, hasn't from the start. And I think that's ultimately going to be borne out once the jury comes back with its verdict.
Yeah. So again, to me, that sounds very confident. But then again, hey, this is from the Trump team. This is on Fox News. So I showed you guys CNN. I showed you Fox News. MSNBC, right? We all know that they believe that Trump is going to be found guilty, or they are hoping that Trump is found guilty, even if it seems like it's more likely that he's going to get off than to be found guilty. But then again, you never know. It is New York, jury full of Democrats, Democrat judge. Yeah, I mean, again, anything can happen. But honestly, again, I think it's a win-win. Okay, regardless of what happens, if Trump is found guilty, I don't think it's a big deal. Okay, and if he's found not guilty, which is the best case scenario, then honestly, guys, I think that will probably be the final nail in the coffin for Democrats, okay, going into this election, because at that point, Trump will be able to say, look, on one of these political persecutions against me, I was found not guilty. Now, the other ones are not going to happen before the election, okay? So now, again, there's reasonable doubt as to the legitimacy of the rest of the charges against Trump, right? Because now you can say, well, I got off on this one. So again, these other ones are BS as well too. We're not going to find out before the election, but I'm telling you they're BS. Again, that's a very strong argument. And I really do think that if he's found not guilty, I think a lot of people at that point that are, having reservations about voting for Trump because, oh, well, he may be a convicted felon or whatever, it'll definitely help him out when it comes to that. And if he's found guilty, is also going to benefit him as well too, because basically he can say, well, this is an example of me being politically persecuted. And here's the kicker. The Biden administration, essentially today, with their desperate move of sending Robert De Niro plus the Capitol Hill police officers, the Capitol Hill crybabies, out there to basically campaign on behalf of Biden and to trash Trump outside of the trial. Also with reports of Biden directly addressing the verdict of the trial or planning to do so if Trump is found guilty. Essentially, that can backfire, because basically if Trump is found guilty, at that point, Biden is giving more reason to believe that, hey, this is political. And even CNN admitted that the desperate move that Biden pulled today is probably going to backfire if Trump is found guilty.
You can see how some of the deck has been stacked against Donald Trump. The jury, of course, largely from or all from Manhattan, 90% of which voted for Joe Biden. We know that, too. So the cake is baked on the biases here. The American people, though, fundamentally, they like and want fairness. If they perceive this to be unfair, it's going to blow up in the Democrats' face. And now you have Joe Biden saying he's going to comment on this trial from the White House. Not to mention the fact he went out today and had like a campaign rally with Robert De Niro kind of brushing Trump back and trying to go after Trump. He has made this political, a massive misstep by the Biden campaign and the Biden White House. It reeks of unfairness. The American people reject that in all forms.
Hogan Gidley, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so you see now you heard that. Now, again, that guy worked for the White House as the principal deputy press secretary for the Trump administration. Now, what he's saying on CNN is the same point that I made earlier today in one of my first videos about the whole Robert De Niro stunt and, Biden campaigning outside of the trial, okay, or sending his team to do so, is that, well, now, again, you're making it political for sure. Before, okay, you had some reasonable doubt from people who are in the middle, people who are not really paying attention in regards to whether or not this was political, whether or not you were actually involved, because Trump has been saying that these are Biden's trials, right? Biden and Democrats are going after me. Now, if the Biden administration had not gotten so desperate and they just would have said, you know what, we're not going to comment on it. We're not even going to acknowledge that it's happening, because that would be the smart thing to do, and just let it play out. If Trump is found guilty, then those accusations from Trump have less weight to them. Now, I personally believe that it is bias, right? I personally believe that it is a political persecution, but I'm just saying, to somebody that's more independent, somebody that's on the fence that doesn't know, if Biden stays out of it, then again, there's more reasonable doubt that, okay, well, maybe Biden's involved, maybe he's not, we don't really know. But now that, again, that this dude is sending his goons to campaign outside of the trial for him, you're basically showing people, yeah, you're involved, right? You're directly involved, and that this is, in fact, political. We have all the proof and evidence now. That stunt that Democrats and the Biden administration pulled today out of desperation is going to backfire. Now it makes it so if Trump is found guilty, his claims that, hey, this is politically motivated seem to have a lot more weight, right? They seem to have a lot more weight. Essentially, you've watered down the negative effects that a guilty verdict would have on Trump by pulling this desperate stunt. That's what they did. And I'm glad they did it, right? I'm glad. Because, again, Trump has been playing, 340 chess with these people? And he's been running circles around Democrats, and this is just another unforced error by Democrats against Trump, who, again, they just don't know what to do. They're so distraught. They're so just confused about what to do that they're literally just throwing ish at the wall and they're trying to see what sticks, right? and they're simply just making it worse for themselves. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is an example of what I'm talking about. This move was made out of desperation because they don't know what to do. So they do this, right? They think, okay, well, we need to start talking about these trials, right? Listening to MSNBC, right? This is what they listen to. They listen to Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, the Cackling Hens. They listen to all these people that don't know what the hell they're talking about. And they go out, they do something like this. And now they make it so, well, it's a win-win, right? If Trump gets off, it's a massive win, right? Best case scenario. But even if he's found guilty, still kind of a win, because if it seems like it's politically motivated, which Biden has basically confirmed that, yeah, it's political by doing this, he'll get another boost, right? He'll get another boost, right? Which is what's been happening this whole time. Ever since he got his first charge, it has done nothing but benefit him. And now it seems like the conviction is going to benefit him because Biden has made it clear that, hey, yeah, this is political and that we're involved in this. Fascinating stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.